senior meeting? Do you want to come out later?
Second meeting.
Second meeting, okay. Perfect. Anyone else for call to the public, for the first call to the public? Okay, item number 4, Pete Preston, Community Development Monthly Reports.
Moving today, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Building permits, 35 building permits, zoning permits, 34, code enforcement, we're back on track at 46. We try to stay in that range with what we're doing. So that's essentially what we have going on with our monthly reports.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Preston? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 5. Consider approving a request for amendment to the Shiawassee County zoning map for property located in section 18 of New Haven Township. Portion of parcel ID number 003-18-100-004-07 from R1A, one family rural residential, to M1 light industrial, and authorize board chair to execute all necessary documents.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Holzhausen, support from Commissioner Webster. Open this for now for discussion. Before we get going, and I know Mr. Horvath's here and Pete's here to talk about this, but when this came before the Planning Commission a month or 2 ago, I read a little section out of the book of the past and present history of Shiawassee County, and just if you could everyone give me a minute or two, and I'll read this to you. The irony of this. It says New Haven Township. New Haven was among the earliest points of settlement of Shiawassee Township. In 1837, it was probably the extreme northern limit of civilization's Shiawassee Valley. The township at the time was well timbered with maple, oak, beech, and elm, except an extensive area of swampland where tamarack abounded. This, however, was not long allowed to lie in its natural state. By careful drainage, it was soon converted into the most fertile land in the town. The Shiawassee River runs through the northwestern section, 6 Mile Creek, which rises in the central part of Caledonia, enters New Haven in section 33, and flows into the river in section 18, where an excellent water power has been utilized since 1869 and running one of the largest furniture factories of the SD Manufacturing Company. And then goes on to talk about other stuff about New Haven. I just think it's interesting that here we are 150 years later, we have a furniture business in front of us within a couple hundred yards of where there used to be the largest furniture company, obviously in the area in mid-Michigan. So just kind of wanted to point that out. Everything kind of comes full circle. So with that, I'd like to open this up for discussion. Who wants to go first? Pete?
I don't have too much to say other than we held a public hearing. This is a portion of the zoning in section 18, because there's also a single-family home on the other portion. So the owner did work with us and get a legal description that just defines the structure that'll be housing the furniture operation. The other remains residential zoning with a residential use on it.
Any questions for Pete? Okay. The applicant or Mr. Horvath, who would like to go first?
Nathan Hemingway, I'm obviously the owner. Not really furniture making, we do, similar. We're a cabinet manufacturer and millwork. And we just need this growth from the last couple of years for expanding and need to expand the operation. And obviously this worked with Justin to look for industrial buildings throughout Shiawassee County, but obviously we all know there's nothing available. So this was the option we looked at going to expand, allow the business to expand in the future. So that's where all we're going.
Any questions from anyone? Thank you. Mr. Horvath?
Just a couple of comments. It is interesting, Commissioner, how things have come full circle on that. Obviously, we're here in support of Nathan. I think he's got a great business, not only supplying local customers, but you ship product all over the country. Yeah, so bring money into our community, employ several people, skilled craftsman type jobs. The issue is exactly what he said. We did talk about available buildings. Unfortunately, there aren't any that fit his needs. So this will be an expansion on site. Down the road potentially, if we continue to grow, maybe we'll look, for a bigger building. But this fits right now. It's interesting. Once again, we bring forward a project that's on a state highway. Sound like a broken record, but it seems like every time we come forward, and I know you live there, but that is where business should be. That is where commerce should be, is on our state highways, on our interstate highways. So here's yet another example. What I was very pleased to see was great support from New Haven Township. Their planning commission approved it, their board approved it, obviously your planning commission approved it. There was very strong support, there was zero opposition, and I think that really is a credit to Nathan and how he operates as a neighbor in the neighborhood, that he's very cognizant and very respectful of that. So really, you put all that together, I think it's a great project, and certainly encourage your support.
Okay, thank you. We have Tim's here from, in another role, but he's supervisor of the township. Is there anything you want to add to the process that you went through or the
Well,
town?
he went through the process and we approved it. We had no problem with it. I've known Nathan for a while. He does a good job. In fact, I didn't even, when I first moved up there, I didn't even know he had business there. And you wouldn't know it now if you didn't know it.
Mr. Holzhausen?
Yeah, I live in the township, and I approved it, and, I know we've had other issues in other townships about the zoning, issues, but I think we got on state highways, we gotta have something like that. New Haven is also all farming, so we need a couple businesses to be farming.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, no further discussion, we'll go to the vote then. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, moves on to Wednesday's agenda. Thank you everyone for that. Item number 6, consider resolution number 19-06-07 to adopt the Shiawassee County policy on enhanced access to public records and authorize the board chair, county clerk to sign all necessary documents. Motion?
So moved.
I'll support it.
Okay, with that, I'd like to open up to discussion, and I know we have, this was brought to us by Health Department Director and our Drain Commissioner, so would you guys like to speak on this?
This is simply a policy that goes along with the fee schedule for the mapping, the maps that are being produced in the drain office. It's a standard template policy that the other counties are using for FOIA, because there's some complexities with the GIS and proprietary rights that we have. So, you say we didn't reinvent the wheel. It's something that needs to go along with that fee schedule that's in Tony's office now. If you have any questions on it,
Okay.
take those.
So, do we have any discussion, any questions from board members?
The GIS is up and running, it's on the county website, so hopefully you can check it out.
So as I understand, this is just a fee schedule put in place, so people who are just out of curiosity trying to pull up maps or get records or whatever, they pay a certain fee. People who are pulling the records for government use or for grants or something, there's a different fee structure for some of that.
Some of it's free that you can get off the website, but anytime a physical map is made in the drain office, there's a fee for it, so they can't try to
Right.
use FOIA as an excuse to make the map for free. So there's some proprietary issues that the county has an investment in, and so this covers that policy.
Anything else? If not, we'll take a vote to move this to Wednesday. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, moves on to Wednesday's agenda item. Number 7, consider approving a farmland PA 116 agreement for Robert Birchmeyer for property located in Hazel Township, parcel number 004-12-200-015-01.
Make the motion.
Commissioner Holzman makes the motion.
Sport?
Commissioner Webster supports. Any discussion? Pretty routine like all the other PA 116 agreements we do. Any questions, concerns, discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, other agenda items. Does anyone have anything? Okay, second call to the public. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Meeting adjourned.
About 5 minutes, we'll start finance.
11 minutes. Not everybody.
Okay, shall we call the finance meeting to order? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call the vote. Matt's ready. Okay.
Just real brief, I had a meeting in regards to zoning of the veterans' tiny homes that we would like to put on a county property, and was told by Mara Lee, who later joined by Joe Sawyer for the city of Corunna here, that they weren't going to move on it until they were given permission by the county. So I guess the ball is in your court as to whether they should even proceed with zoning approval for such a matter. And another issue, how can one person from this county board of commissioners put in over $10,000 personally to finance a committee supporting the jail? Is there any kind of confidence there? Just wondering.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to speak? If not, I'm going to say, I'm going to do several commentaries about things that have been going on, not so much about, we have our Shiawassee County Road Commission report. I'll make a few comments on that when we come to it. The new maintenance building, we got some things we want to talk about down there, the drives. Report on the Mystic Way, we'll give a discussion on that settlement. And Melissa Higby's here, and we'll chat with her on item number 8, besides what's there. And then Tim Hill has a couple of things. And I may say Tim do one during the meeting, regular items, and Tim at the end. Does anybody else have anything for the agenda that they would like to discuss today?
Mr. Baumann, maybe you said this, did you say you're gonna give us an update about hiring the finance director, or did you not say that?
Yeah, we can certainly, and also, good thing you remind me, we have a revised budget calendar, which I'll hand out for budgetary purposes. And also I'll have Mike talk a little bit about interview process for finance director. Very good. Yeah, a lot of stuff's been going on since last week. Anything else? Anything? Okay. If not, we can, if what jogs our mind, we can certainly talk about it. Okay, moving on to the regular part of the meeting. Item number 4, presentation, 2018 Clerk's Department Annual Report. Caroline, County Clerk, will present the report.
Thank you. I apologize for the delay in getting you the reports. I don't know when Casey was able to put those in your emails, or you guys were able to get them. We had a problem with County Fusion when we did the charts of accounts and everything, so things we noticed late Friday, the numbers were not jiving, so I did not want to present something inadequate because of my objective. So I'm going to start with the election portion of things. We had 3 elections last year. We handed out the sheet. I'll be brief because I have so much to go through that I don't, we have a long agenda. It really kind of speaks for itself as far as we put total costs and then what we were reimbursed. We gave how many precincts were open for each election. We had all 3. Of course, it was an even year, so that meant that the primary and the general, everyone did have to be open and all the precincts had to be open as well. So you can kind of see for yourselves that most of the proposals and things like that passed. And I don't know the percentages, May of 2018 only had 2 schools. There was a low percentage of turnout, 8.95. In the August turnout with the primary, it was 28.71, which was a little higher than what our county has been known for. kind of what I'm hearing, because that was my first big primary election, was probably the worst election on the books in 25 years. So with all state counties having new equipment up and functioning, and it was hot and humid, and that created a lot of problems as well. And for me and my staff, we never went home. So it was, and I'm not the only one, I guess, that experienced that this in 2018. So if you have any more, want any more detail to this kind of report, we have it at the office, and be more than happy to sit with you and kind of go through what some of those costs in more detail. Any questions? Okay. The next thing I'm going to move on to are the reports that I sent to you regarding the year of 2016, 2017, and then 2018. I came before the board in October-ish, September, October last year, asking for a part-time person. Well, I think it was full-time, I'm not sure. But we talked about several different things, but I was trying to show that we on the vital records side are in need of somebody. I am trying to be prepared for what 2020 is going to look like. The atmosphere in itself right now is even picking up. The proposal 3 passing with law changes is causing a lot of different things to also contribute to the busyness. And then the state in mandating the new Real ID Act that took place in October of 2017 has affected my numbers and my foot traffic in our office in 2018 significantly. And so because of the short notice, I wasn't able to do a little table, but when Heather gets back in the office, we can work on that if you want something a little bit more sufficient. And the reason I ran things for 2016, it was to show you that that was a full staff that had been there for years. And so then along comes 2017, the year of transition, and at the final numbers, and I do want to point out that these filings are strictly like new filings. They do not have a report that can show us the numbers for every copies and everything that we also do, duplications of records or anything like this. These are new requests throughout the year. So they're working on that. If I can get something by Thursday, but because of their change in their system, they weren't able to get that to us for me to do that today. So in 2016 and then into 2017, we were only down by 60 different new filings. And in 2017, I only had a full staff for 2.5 months. Then it was me and one person. And then for a period of time, it was me and 1.5 persons. So 2017 had a lot of transition, but what I wanted to point out mostly is that through all of that, we were only down by 60 new records being filed. But in 2018, we were from 2018 number to 2017 number, we were up 162. And from 2016 through 2018, we were up 102. So the difference between the years, we have increased. And part of that is because of the new mandated 911 election, the commission that they put out there for the certification of birth records. And not just birth records, marriage licenses, and as we're moving forward, that people have to have everything certified. So this is kind of the numbers in a snapshot to show you that our foot traffic has just increased. And again, this is strictly just new filings, has nothing to do, and I'm just, it kind of takes me into the next point of kind of doing support for asking for someone part-time. Because 2020 is going to be crazy. One of the things in 2020, I am responsible for training all of the election workers out there. We're at about 327 I did in 2018. I may have to do the city of Owasso as well. They're looking at legislation to change all that, but Amy Kirkland and I work very well together. But when we did a survey on how the election workers liked the training that we did, because it was new equipment, we did smaller classes, more on hands and handouts and things like that. They loved it. But it was really intense on me and then on my staff, because Abby comes also, and that just leaves Jerry Lynn. Now, Jerry Lynn has been trying, the vitals clerk, we have been getting her, like today and Friday, she was at training with the Bureau, because I'm trying to get her familiar with those systems, because as we go into 2020, having another person on knowing those systems is imperative. And so what I'm really looking at is trying to get someone to come in and be trained really in vitals, someone that can grab the phone and grab the birth records and all those vital records while we're manning all the other things that take place for an even year election. And we're looking at four elections next year. So that is significant on the strain that it puts on the office. And so both clerks have comp time, which kind of is a vicious cycle that doesn't help. Everyone's new, so the good thing is that they don't have a lot of vacation time or anything built up like that. But I've had, in the last 2 months, I've had a death. Heather's been out with a family emergency. I've had doctor's appointments, staff, so I mean, I'm covering. And I wanted to do this in April, and it's June, because I wanted to do an efficient job so I could say, we really need someone. If I can't get someone 20 to 30 hours, I'm going to ask for someone 19 hours and no benefits. I mean, we're rock stars, we can pump out the work, but that foot traffic and those interruptions is just, that's what's hurting us not getting things done, things that need to be done for birth records for the state. We're behind on that, and we have to get those things corrected and done. And then CPL information, that when we have to do a correction, I mean, there's all these little things, we do the best we can. I've even offered for them to come in on a Saturday to have no interruptions, but that doesn't help anything because we need a break from the office. So, Heather's been out with a family emergency, and so I didn't have my nice little table to show you the ups and downs of the numbers, but I wanted to give you something because I do not want to go another month, because the year is going very quickly. So that's kind of my report. I don't have anything from the court side because Heather has been out and they've been short-staffed, and my girls are back in the courtroom. That's a good thing, but that also contributes to staff issues on that side as well. So if I can get something compiled by Thursday to maybe show you what those numbers look like, I'll do that.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned that in 2016, these numbers reflected here were full staff. Do you know how many FTEs that was in 2016? What were the FTEs in the office in 2016?
What do you mean FTEs?
Full-time employees, full-time employees.
Oh, 3. There were 3 full-time plus the clerk.
And what FTEs do you have now?
2.
2 plus the clerk. Thank you.
No, Heather does. Heather is strictly with the staff going back in, and then the way the front of the court was reorganized, that they are now kicking up their enforcement, and they have, and that has affected the court side. Now, it's been fine because the clerks haven't been going into the courtroom. They still are, pushing, and they have the constant interruption of people. But the front of the court's reorganization generated, and I'm going to work on that for the 2020 budget, because that has generated like 700 new orders on a monthly basis. And so we don't just touch papers for one department. We hit all the courtrooms and the front of the court, and so they never get out on time. I just could go on about how much they're dedicated to their work, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, there's a burnout that takes place, and I'll try to have something for you on Thursday. Yes. She can be included? She doesn't work on the vital side. So that's kind of the report from the office, mostly the vital records.
Does anyone else have any questions for Caroline on her report?
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman. You did mention the new election equipment. The feedback that I have received from my district has been very negative.
Which one is that, Bennington?
Bennington would be part of my district, yes. So, I guess I'm still a little disappointed in that decision, and I feel like that has really hurt the efficiency between the townships and the county working together on elections.
Well, I'm not, I mean, I am aware, I'd have a private conversation with you so we don't have to bore people with the details, but I would have a conversation with you about that particular township and what the vendor has tried to do, and being told 4 different times just for this past May election, no, no, no. And so there have been some challenges throughout the state with the different vendors. I'm going out to meetings right now. I work one-on-one with clerks. So we're not going to make everyone happy, but I think that in the last year and a half, that decision has been supported by more clerks than not.
I wasn't particularly referring to one township, but we can certainly have
If
that
there's more, then
conversation.
I'm not aware of it, and I try to reach out when anyone gives an indication that they might be uncomfortable with something. We do hands-on training. I ask what can we do and things like that. So, I mean, unless they're calling me and telling me, I have no idea. And I'm pretty forthright in asking, how do you feel with things? I mean, I'm asked all the time.
So the majority of clerks in the county were on board with the decision for the vendor that you chose?
Not initially, no. But I do back that decision. And everyone keeps bringing this decision up. And it's kind of like, it is a done deal. And every vendor has had challenges. The reasons I selected that vendor, I stand by. When we had to hand put everything in August and never left the office, that vendor drove from Grand Rapids at 4 a.m. and stayed with us until almost 9. I never received a phone call back from the vendor that they wanted me to select. I had been very upfront with the vendors and saying I knew nothing about elections. I've busted my tail to understand it. I've gone to trainings. I've gone to other clerks, county clerks, and I've gotten the support. I've stood by my decision because they have done everything that they said they were going to do. And so, I feel that most of the clerks would stand by that decision now. I've had 2 that I know are not necessarily happy. So if there's more, they're not telling me. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else for the clerk on this subject? If not, thank you, Caroline, for the report. Let's move on to item 5. I need a motion to consider authorizing the clerk's vital records office to hire a part-time employee to work 20 to 30 hours per week with prorated benefits per the AFSCME contract, Article 43, at the grade 3, starting at $14.77 per hour, to be paid out of the clerk wages line item, number 101-215-703.000. CPL revenue funds will be used to help pay for the employee's wages.
So moved.
Is there a support? Support? Okay, for discussion?
Mr. Chair, I know I don't sit on this committee, but I will bring it up like I brought it up last fall, in November and December. We have increased traffic in there, and we're below a lot of the surrounding counties and the fees that we charge. And I'd like to consider that again, maybe as part of this employee or just more revenue, to look at that again. And I can get, I still have it electronically. I can resubmit that around to everybody this week with all the other, of course, the data's not going to be 7-8 months old, but what are all the other clerks charged? But there was some discussion about it because of the compliance with Real ID, everyone going in and getting certain vital records. We had a chance to have some additional revenue, so I'll send that around to everybody, but I think we should look at that again.
Commissioner McMaster, I do have a list that they put out every year, what the reason for the vital records.
It was one of those things, we talked about it. I wasn't here for all the meetings in that week of December, and it just kind of fell apart. And I know it's a different board makeup now than what it was last December, but I think we should at least look at it or have that discussion at some point this week.
Okay.
That's
I
right.
did not hear who seconded that.
I did.
Okay.
I seconded the motion. I can't make the motion, but I can. Okay, any other discussion? We've heard previously from the clerk about the need for this individual. With that, is there any more discussion of that? We'll move. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails. Okay. Item number 6. Considering authorizing an increase to the Board of Canvassers' compensation when canvassing all types of Shiawassee County special, primary, general elections from $45 per day to $45 per half day, up to 4 hours, and $75 per full day to be effective immediately upon approval and to be paid out of the election budget, line item number 101-262-725.005.
So moved.
I'll support that. Discussion. Okay.
I do have some discussion. I know none of them committee.
Go ahead.
Actually, but the comparables. Why were the comparables those such out of range counties for us? I mean, is that, are we looking at district or are we in a? Because I mean, we're way out of whack. with
For
those
people who
counties.
responded,
All right. That was my biggest one. I'm thinking, man, some of these counties are like, you know,
and
10 times to 20 times
and
our general fund budget.
well, I'll be honest, that most of the clerks, when that act passed, because the canvassers are also now being asked to do more canvassing. We have to do a report, they have to do a report for uncounted jurisdictions. That takes time, and then they're looking at that, well, it is coming back into the office as far as canvassing the, the ones that go to the delegates. So that will take time in itself when that comes through in the new year.
You probably don't know. Probably a question more for us to try to look into, but do you know the last time like this was even looked at?
Livingston had it in 1978.
They had it looked at 78,
Yeah.
but we haven't looked at it and
I called Casey and asked her if she had any idea where a resolution was. We kind of looked through our records and we couldn't find anything. So we kind of thought, did it come from going off the meetings with you guys and, something like that, but we couldn't find any supporting documentation.
so I think this kind of goes with what Commissioner McMaster was saying. We don't know the last time we looked at what a board of canvassers should be paid or should be compensated. But at the same time, something that ties into this is our citizen boards, our citizen committees that's been since '76, since we've been at our, I mean, that could be a reason why we don't have participation. I mean, it's not
It's
all
hard to
about
get
money, but time is valuable to people, and, if you're gonna take away from their family, sometimes $25 for 5 hours to sit here with some planning information isn't worth it. So, I mean, this is kind of a thing that maybe it's I mean, I know we're not in the best financial situation to be looking at all of that, but I mean, it kind of ties back to everything. If we're gonna look at the board of canvassers, probably ought to start looking across the board and seeing what, maybe that gets a little bit more citizen involvement and, instead of getting one applicant for 5 spots, you get 10 applicants for 5. I don't know. But it kind of would help to,
I know that a lot of township boards who have planning commissions or appoint people to some of the boards, maybe in the county level or even in their district, whatever, they pay more than 25. Some will pay 35, some pay 45, some pay 50 or 60 in this county. I mean, it's kind of it's all over, depending on maybe population and activity. Yes. But
and we might find that we're right in the wheelhouse when we look at like size counties and similar. I mean, maybe we ought to look at all of it too, though. I mean, why not?
Oh, I would agree. Bennington Township pays $50 a month.
Yes, it appears
per meeting.
I think very
I'm not
township.
saying double. I'm not suggesting
Okay, you
double.
also give out half the pensions too.
Yeah. But I mean, normally our meetings are 25, maybe they should be 35. Out county, it is 45.
So probably, we're probably looking at, 20 years that we even looked at our employees' wages. So, I mean, you've got to assume if our employees' wages have really teetered off even cost of living and everything like that 20 years behind. And I'm assuming these citizen boards have gone up
So,
you know, $1, you know, $2, you know, I'm not saying drastic amounts, but something, probably.
well, when I was commissioner for 8482, it was 25 and 45. So,
Yeah, even
long
a
time.
modest increase would probably get us a better pool of applicants.
so.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on this motion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
That passes 2 to 1. Thank you. Item number 7, consider approving up to $25,000 for the purchase and installation of a replacement chiller unit to repair the air conditioning in the circuit courthouse. Gee, that's a move. That's a chiller, yeah. I'll support. There's a motion and a second for discussion. Tim, could you give us the happy news?
Well, right now, there's no air conditioning at circuit court, because apparently the Freon or the R410 is a leak in it, in where the water and it mix,
Okay.
which is the heating unit, and needs to be replaced. And they do not know totally what, right now, they gave a list of the stuff that they could see that needed to be replaced, but they really won't know totally, possibly everything until they get into it. They don't know, and they're gonna do diagnostics on it to see what may have caused it, if they can. I don't know. Some other stuff went down too that night, so I don't know.
I did hear in discussions with several people that there's quite a storm and we might have a power surge or electric strike, we're not
It's
sure.
possible, but I don't know.
They won't know until they get into it.
Into it.
Yes.
But the part takes 2 days to at least come to them. So I'd like to give them kind of the okay to go ahead and start moving on it.
Yes.
We had another bid of like 26 or a little bit more from Honeywell, but they didn't even know if they'd have the guys to do it. Johnny Green is the ones that I found to give us the bid that we got here, and they can do it, and they're also the contractor that actually put it in the first place.
I think we had that new chiller back in 13, 14.
Yeah, it took years ago, we looked at it.
Yes, we did. And the one before it had been there since 78 or something.
So it's still guaranteed, is it?
Yeah. Good luck, kid.
Yeah.
So the previous one lasted 20 years and this one lasted.
Well, 78, 90, almost.
Is this the Johnny Green out of like a
Yeah.
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 I mean, if we're gonna be spending 25,000 every 5 years on a new air conditioning, we're in trouble.
Well, they
In the
don't
last
know what-
5 years.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't know what happened to it. They're gonna, like I said, they're gonna do some diagnostics on it and see what, they wanna know what happened too. So I mean, they're gonna give a report on, you know, possibly what might have been the cause of the failure.
Who was
But
the company that,
huh?
who was the company for the previous
I believe it was Honeywell.
Honeywell?
Taking care of it?
No, put it in.
No, Johnny Green did.
Oh, he did.
Johnny Green did it, but Honeywell's been doing the maintenance on it.
So you want to vote yes on a new one from the same company that lasted 5 years?
I don't know what the problem is, but
We gotta fix it.
the problem is we gotta have air conditioning.
It doesn't sound like a recipe for success to me. The company gives us a piece of junk.
Well, you don't know, it could have been through the maintenance of it, you know. They won't know until they get into it. But at least Johnny Green's looking to see what the problem is. Whereas Honeywell wasn't looking to see what the problem is. So I can't finger point, I don't know what the problem is. The diagnostics comes back, is that you had a leak in the Freon, which is in with the water. And they're afraid that the water pressure might have pushed into the Freon part. They won't know that until they take the dryers out and see if they got water in it or not.
Do we take bids on something like this? Is that, or just,
Well, the problem is there's not too many people that can handle it. Johnny Green's one of them. Honeywell's another one. Honeywell,
I don't even think really wants to even touch it, basically, from my gathering. I mean, we can maybe possibly still find a few others, but it's still, the part is still gonna be $14,000 no matter what. Who does the work? And then you don't know what you're gonna find once they get into it also, because until you start tearing it all apart and putting it back together, you're not gonna know.
Yeah, this chiller runs everything in the courthouse and the jail. It runs.
Well, not the jail.
Not the jail. Oh,
Not the jail,
okay.
just the courthouse. But, you know, it does keep everything cool in the courthouse, and they've had trials last week, which was not pleasant, but they made it through, and luckily the weather's been cooler than what it could be possibly this time last year or going forward, but it's gonna get hot when it does. We still got a kind of good.
Okay. So how do we get out from under Honeywell? Because obviously for 5 years, they haven't done anything on this maintenance-wise or
They've
diagnostic
done
checks
some
or anything.
maintenance, but, you know, I don't know, you know, my guys, I didn't handle the maintenance on it, because I don't know that much about it. So that, you know, it was a maintenance agreement with Honeywell. I'm thinking maybe I don't know why Honeywell, you know, I guess my big question is, you got the thing from Johnny Green to begin with, they put it in, why didn't Johnny Green maintain the maintenance on it? I'm thinking maybe that,
I think they're installers.
I'm thinking that maybe,
We have an agreement with Honeywell for everything, for certain, a lot of this.
yeah, a lot of the stuff that we have is through Honeywell, but I'm thinking, I don't know, they were the ones in charge of the chiller. I guess I kind of find it funny that Johnny Green didn't, I mean, unless they don't do the maintenance on it. It seemed to me when I was talking to them that they would do the maintenance on it. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe we should have Johnny Green maybe do the maintenance on it. If they're the ones that installed it, they know how, you know, what it is.
It could have been, I'm trying to figure it out, I tried to remember this a while ago. It might have been Honeywell, we have a contract with them. And so when the old chiller went bad, and the old chiller was, actually it was a convenience store cooler turned into a chiller. And that's quite unusual, but back in the day, that's what they did. And they might have used Johnny Green to install it, or put it in. So I mean, Johnny Green was there because Honeywell had him there. And so now that we have to have a new one, Honeywell really doesn't want to handle it. They want somebody like Johnny Green to handle it. So, yeah. Okay.
You know, talking to the guy from Johnny Green, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe having them do the PMs or maintenance on it. They seem more to me they seem more knowledgeable on it. I mean, we had issues with it last year, quite a few issues with it, this previous year. So, and I never did get a good answer from Honeywell on them issues, in my opinion. And then all of a sudden now we've had a failure of this part, whereas maybe it was going bad the whole time and they didn't
catch it.
Okay.
So, but we'll know more about that when we get into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on this topic at this time? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
2 yeas and 1 nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, item number 8. Need a motion to consider approving the payment of Shiawassee Conservation District invoice number 2423 in the amount of $22,317.64 to cover the cost of its spring electronic waste recycling event conducted on May 4th from the Waste Management Fund, line item number 230-700.000.
I will make the motion.
I'll second that motion for discussion. discussion. Melissa's here. Melissa, explain that big event.
It was a big event. Starting out, we knew that the rates had increased some, so what we did is we looked at all the events that we had and we kind of made what we thought would be, what would happen and would occur. And so then with the new rates, we looked at that, we thought it was gonna be about, close to 15,000, which were allotted per year. What we didn't expect was 242 vehicles to come through in a 4-hour time period. And so that has been an issue that we've been talking about, is that it's hard when you have one-day events and you have people lined up on 52 and you're trying to take everybody in, and where do you draw the line? You don't know the poundage that you have. It's hard to control that. And we want to provide this service, and it's a very important service, and obviously all the people that are coming out for it, there's still a need. So we knew that we had 15,000, and then we had some from last year that we didn't use, so we thought that would be our buffer. Obviously, it was not our buffer. It was a huge collection. It was 39,944 pounds of electronics. A majority of them were the ones that were the higher cost items, so of course that boosted it up. The costs for Comp Renew is, did increase. It will increase. We've had many talks about, the cost of recycling electronics is extremely expensive. And, but it keeps it out of the landfill. Comp Renew is 100% recyclable. They're not ones that pick the wire out and then take everything else to the landfill. They recycle everything, and they're certified and they're approved by the state of Michigan. So with that, I was requesting that extra amount. But with that, we are going to be working with Larry from the Health Department and Rick Crawford, who's on the Solid Waste Commission, who's the president of that, or the chair of that, and anybody else that would like to join our little group. There is a rural electronics waste grant that's out there right now that the Conservation District would like to apply for. And we would like to put up a building. We've talked to Larry, Casey about it, and Rick, who's been very supportive and helpful, because it's easier to contain it. So we know we can keep a better grip on what we have. So we can take appointments. We can make sure it's not just a business. We know when the county has things like this one, we had stuff from the health department that they had remodeled and we had in the little sheds and stuff. So it will be able to better handle the things that we have. We know what we'll have. And then they can come pick it up periodically. So it won't be lined up, it might still be lined up on 52. So we're still in discussion. So we take appointments. If it's businesses, should we charge for businesses? How we should do that, so.
In this building, did they talk about size in the grant? I mean, would there be gondolas that you put inside? I mean, with big semis, you get tonnage. These trucks would roll in, roll out. When this building was built, or we secured the grant, I mean, there's an awful lot that goes into that, especially around the building for structure and the ground. It's a lot of heavy activity.
So there's been many trucks coming into the area. So we've had the semis that come. So last time we had, I think it was 4 trucks. 4 trucks, so a big semi. We have 2 box trucks. I think we only had 3. And one came, and one person came with a U-Haul with all their stuff, and we told them they had to drive to Comp Renew itself because we did not have the trucks, so we had to do that. But with that said, we're not looking at a huge building. I don't know, we haven't really discussed it. I'm in my mind thinking what other conservation districts have done is they might use a pod, like one of those metal pods, and then when that's full, then they come and get that. So we could look at that. But I was thinking that if we looked at this grant and it could be utilized for all of us, maybe if Larry had an overflow or something, or I had an overflow out there of something, we could utilize our buildings together.
Yeah. Because I'm considering the fact that not all these people were exactly from Shiawassee County.
Actually, we do have the tallies on all of that. So we know each township, majority of them were from either Caledonia or the city of Owasso, but the townships, they came from everywhere. Bennington had I think a collection or something that day, and we're sending people, if I remember right, we're sending people that had the TVs our way. I think they were doing a cleanup that day.
Yeah, I was there the entire time. I
Yeah.
don't recall
You didn't-
sending
anybody-
away.
yeah,
No,
so-
we just threw it right in the trash truck.
So you threw the TVs in the trash truck?
Right in the trash truck.
So I had talked to Lee about it, and they were going to send people down, but that's great that they didn't.
Is that why the expense is higher, is because of TVs, is that?
TVs,
is that what the-
everything's higher. Everything. Things that we used to get free is no longer free. So I do have a schedule if you'd like to see their prices. If you'd like, can I approach?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I guess, are we in the discussion portion yet or not?
Yeah, yes.
Like, what I don't understand is how is it some groups, kids groups, school groups and everything are making money off of recycling e-waste, and yet I don't get it, if somebody could explain.
So
to me.
I don't know what kids group you're talking about. There's
I would say
different
robotics
types.
school or program in front makes money.
So
every
they're
year.
probably taking the wires and all that stuff out, and then they're taking the rest of it to the landfill. That's what we're trying not to do. So you can have pickers, or you can have, there are people out there that pick through the stuff. For instance, if you say, yep, we're taking electronics, and then you take the electronics and you pick all the wire out, and then you take the rest of it and put it in a dumpster and you take it out to the landfill. That's what we're trying not to do. We're trying to be recycling. Recycling, reuse, recycling of products. And that's what Comprenew is. They are no landfill company. So what they take in, they do not take to the landfill.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I hear what you're saying, Melissa, and I think it's a valuable, service to the community, but that's a lot over budget, and I feel hesitant to pull that money out of somewhere that's a lot.
Yes, so like I said before, it's really hard to contain. So now we are trying to find the best way to do that. So the need's still there, you know what I mean? The need's there. We didn't, line up everybody. We kept it contained. We tried to keep it contained, but that's what happens when you take electronics back.
And I certainly understand that, but to be $7,000 over that.
Yep. So we did have 15,000, and then it came in at 22. So we had, we were factoring in the 31 that we had. So really, we're asking for $4,177.71 extra. We had money left over from last year that we did not utilize from our 15,000. So really, it's a balance that we're asking of $4,177.41. And the district does do all the staff are paid for. The district does all the promotions. We handle all of that on the day. We do handle all the volunteers that help out. We paid for the porta potty for the workers.
Yeah, and again, I think it's great, but I hesitate to set that kind of precedent that, coming in even $4,000 over budget.
Right.
So where
Totally
did we-
understand that.
Where did we get the 4,000 from?
Yeah.
From Waste Management Fund, or?
I don't.
We have extra money in the waste management budget, and that's where it is.
Right. It's following. We're trying to follow the solid waste plan that was put in place. And I get it. That's not I think it's a great way to take care of the electronics recycling. Is it sustainable? No. That's why we're trying to figure out a way to do it. To try and figure out a way. There's a need in this county. It's either going to be in the ditch or the river or the landfill. And the conservation district is trying to follow the solid waste plan and trying to do what's right. It's just like with Larry, he has $25,000 for his household hazardous waste. And did you use all of your household hazardous waste money?
Last year I came in under budget. I did not use it.
It is kind of switched. Household hazardous waste is less expensive than electronic waste to recycle. And so we'd not that I'm trying to take Larry's budget, but I'm saying if we're going to be doing this, we have to look at how we're going to do it. And I'm here for suggestions. I reached out to Rick Crawford and talked to him about it. I've talked to Larry. Larry and I have had extensive communications about it, trying to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
So you've incurred this cost as an invoice to be paid. If we vote no, then how's the money, where do you get the money from?
The district will be stuck with it.
Yeah. I've noticed that an awful lot of collection, a lot of townships and cities that have been collecting, separating trash and everything, they discontinued it because the profit in plastic and bottles and paper is really collapsed. It may bounce back now. I've been reading that actually the Chinese are back buying and it may go back up, but we really don't know that. We had a recycling deal in Prairie Township at the Morris transfer station, and we couldn't keep other trash out of it. And so we discontinued it over there.
And also, I might add that we did at one time before we had gotten the solid waste money charged for those services, and once we took the money from the solid waste, we were asked not to charge for the TVs. We had brought that before the solid waste, and we did bring that and talk to many people about it, and they didn't feel that we should charge for that service if we were getting solid waste money.
Maybe in the future we may have to.
Right, but we did when we had it ourselves before we did charge for that, and then it was stated that don't charge for it. It should be opened. Use the solid waste money. So, I would have been happy to have charged.
You had a couple questions.
Yes, I have a couple questions. First, do we have any way of weighing this? Do we have any way of knowing what we're taking in so that we're kind of on track with what our budget is?
So everything, when I submitted to Mike and to the commissioner.
While you're collecting it, not after you've turned it into them. Like as you're collecting, okay, man, I'm up to 15,000 now.
Wow.
Like we don't have any way to
So that's why,
that.
yeah.
Okay, what about?
Everything goes in bins.
Okay, we approved 15 for 2 events. Are we now doing just the one because we're over? Are we expecting another $20,000 bill when we do a fall event?
I am not planning a fall event.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be it.
This will be it. Okay.
And then and part of this thinking is that you had a pod and you brought in a truck. We wouldn't do appointments. That's almost impossible. What you do, you might have, instead of one collection a year, you might have room for 2 big pods where the semis literally can come in, pick them up and haul them away. Therefore, their labor's down, so on and so forth. We might do that 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, depending on how that activity might be set up, if this would come about. If it doesn't come about, then we'll have to figure out a way. I think Jeremy hit the nail on the head about, we only can collect so much with so much money, and therefore, we can handle 3 semis instead of 4 or 2 or whatever.
Absolutely.
But we'll have to.
It's not, and you have to understand, it's not fun for us either. If you've ever come to our collection and watched my staff work extremely hard, and the things that they do, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Some of that stuff's pretty heavy.
It's very heavy. I've injured myself twice at it. Cut my arm, bleeding all over people. It's not like a brand new TV. It's usually the junk of the junk of the junk.
Yep.
Bad stuff coming out of people's barns, garage.
Also,
Same thing probably Larry sees when he gets household hazardous waste. It's not the nice stuff. It's the stuff where you're like going like this to get it, picking it up.
And if 242 vehicles, you almost have them 1 a minute. I mean, that's a lot of activity. Yeah. Okay.
I got one more
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Not that I want to nickel and dime the money, but if you guys are keeping money that you don't spend, and Larry's keeping money that he doesn't spend, it's not. What are we doing with that money? We're just leaving it in the pot. But yet we're asking for 15 and 25,000 every year. You're not spending 15 and 20,000 every year. Then it ought to go back in.
It stays in the pot. It's what he requested.
Yeah, we're reimbursement. The district already paid Concord $22,000.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, got it. Understand it. Thanks.
Yeah. It just remains in the
I figured Larry's pocket somewhere cash.
No, you didn't give the
He didn't
district
carry off the TV in
$15,000.
his pocket.
You reimburse us.
We just pay the bill, basically. We do that, and then we make sure I have fire.
And then the district
Yeah.
pays our bill to our staff and to the
Okay,
promotions
Dan?
and all that stuff.
Okay, Dan?
Okay, so, and I know it's nice, I know it's nice trying to keep stuff out of landfill. I get that. It's nice we can provide these services, but this is a conversation I had literally a couple months ago with my 18-year-old son about tires, because he's constantly mounting and dismounting tires, but refuses to pay the service fee to have the tires hauled away at the tire place, brings them home, and wants to wait once a year till there's that free tire disposal, and try to explain to them there's no such thing as a free lunch. You gotta pay, everybody's gotta pay, and maybe some of this stuff, whether it's the large TVs that are expensive, whatever, some of this, maybe we have to put a little bit of a charge on it if you drop it off. I mean, it's, it's nice, I know we do the river cleanup and we collect a ton of stuff, and I don't want people dumping tires and computers and everything in the river because it's free for them. And, we collect it and haul it away, but there's gotta be some kind of a balance to maybe offset some of the e-waste costs.
I think we can sort of look at that for the next year.
Do you have any idea, like, if you had to throw out a number, if somebody brings a big old TV?
Yeah, Comprenew gave us guidelines on how much to choose, or how much to pay, and it was the screen, like we would measure it, so when we took it, we had measuring tape, and we'd tape, and it was like 10, 15, 25, and the bigger ones were 50. And actually, $50. And actually, that was the one where we collected 40, that was 10-3 in 2015, and we collected, and they had to pay 178 vehicles, and it was 631 pounds. And CRTs was 26.
I didn't realize it was so much.
And it was CRTs, we took, which are the TVs, we took in $26,347. Or 226,347 pounds of CRT. Yep.
Okay, so, and I'm not saying we charge somebody either, but
we have to improve our program.
So some of those TVs were the huge on the rollers.
Yeah.
And those were the ones that were $50. And a lot of people pay $50 to get, because they have to pay that for the people to come up and get it out of the landfill. I mean, to, like their trash pickup.
Well, okay. Well, Melissa, you and I will work on this program, and I know Larry has an awful lot to do it too.
And we'll,
actually, what's happening, the marketplace has changed, so we have to change with it.
Yep.
And we will. Yeah. Because I hear a lot of people really like this service. So we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I appreciate
Even if they're gonna pay a little more, they probably will use it.
And I think they will. Yeah. So I appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
2 yeas and 1 nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9. I need a motion to consider renewing the IT contract with Shiawassee RESD in the amount of $118,500.
So moved.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Michael, do we have a yearly contract or 2-year contract or?
This is RESD, this is, I believe, a 1-year contract.
1-year contract. I think that's the only thing they can.
That's a 3% increase.
Okay.
And this covers well.
Okay.
They basically do everything IT, I was gonna say what an IT person would do, they actually do about everything an IT team would do.
Yeah.
Which is.
The team is.
Yeah.
Or does it 2 year?
It says 2 year. 237,000. 118,500
Yeah, so
per year.
add the 118,500.
Right, the 118,500 is a 1-year price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 years.
It's 2 year.
But it's a 2-year commitment if we sign this.
Yeah. In the past, they were only allowed to do 1-year commitments, and they were allowed to do 2-year. I remember back a while ago when we first brought them on, we wanted a 3-year commitment. I mean, they've been very good in handling an awful lot of our stuff. Yes.
Mr. Henry, you mentioned that it's a 3% increase.
Yes.
Do we have some sort of schedule on what we've been increased over the past years that we've worked with that?
I do not, I
It's
can
3%
probably find it.
normal? Is any commissioners that?
Yes, I think the first year was 110. And that was back, I'm gonna say that was 15.
15 or 16.
Yeah.
I was here when we had our own person, and then we hired some people, and this was a lot less money than what we.
Well, there's no question, this is.
This is a good deal, so.
It's a good deal.
I just wonder why the
because
3%.
the county had somebody, recently the jail had somebody, and now the sheriff's office.
We had a whole bunch of people, it was costing big bucks, and this is
I don't know If you guys, what your examples of your history's been, service and quality, Caroline, I know you have probably positive things to say. So, you know,
Yeah, we had another guy here.
I just want to say something. I love what they're doing for us. They're awesome. But the health department is paying 75 grand a year additionally to this that we pay out of our budget. So the 118.5 does not cover the health department. We're paying our own, as is the sheriff's department. So there is more cost to this. Having said that, it would be way more to go back and get the service that we have from them to have a staff.
Yeah, we had a staff with all the benefits and everything. It was costing.
We had the one gentleman, and sometimes he had somebody work with him part-time, and not, but with the increase of the technology age, we figured that we would have to have 2 people, possibly 3, and first person at 70, the second person at 50 to 60, third person 50 to 60, all the bennies, so on and so forth. It was an extremely large budget. And a lot of bigger counties have those, like Tennessee or England, but they have a lot more to do too, so. It was researched quite well back a few years ago.
It was a blessing.
Yeah.
I was here,
Yeah, and also too is that when we needed new equipment, they have sources to get us the best price. It works out
I'm not on this committee.
pretty good. Yeah. Any other discussion at this time? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 10. Need a motion to approve the revised budget calendar for fiscal year 2020 to allow time for department heads and their deputy administrators to receive specific BSNA budgeting training prior to submitting their budgetary request.
I will make the motion.
I would support that.
There's a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
last year we took the budget down to the wire before we passed it. I certainly would like to see the final budget presentation either in the 11th month or 10th month.
Oh, I agree. I was going to comment.
Because if we disagree on 12,
We don't want
we're
to.
gonna spend a week of meetings the next week until we get it right? Didn't it used to be October?
No.
We had
No, but I mean, we kind of had it figured out. I mean, we had been negotiating and talking, and people had seen copies and drafts, and so I mean, by the time we did our final vote, which we do every time in December, it would all be kind of hammered out by then.
I am going to.
Commissioner,
Yes.
you'll notice on here, 10 October, we would like, if it's possible, to prepare an early draft budget. And then November, a proposed final budget to the finance committee. That's the goal.
Yeah. Hopefully everything works
So
out.
I'll give you 2 months for people to, but we gotta have people do the due diligence of looking through it,
Right.
it's not gonna stop people coming to January and saying,
Well, yeah.
I didn't know, or I didn't see it. Cause that seems to happen now.
Okay, what do you like? The revised budget? Is there any other discussion at this time? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 11, a motion to authorize the current part-time emergency manager as a full-time salary position at a salary and other terms of employment to be determined by the board.
I would make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. I believe there's a... Yep.
We have a document from Municipal Consulting Services,
Yes.
Mark Notley, who did our wage study for us. He basically, him and I talked, and he's been doing some other wage studies for other counties, so it's been a little while that this has been put off, but he was looking at things, and again, this is just something that now the board has to look at. I'm not saying today you're deciding he's full-time and he's, making whatever salary we determine. It's that we have the discussion going again. The bullet points on this are, the first 2, there's no change to. We already know those. Mark did not know really the retirement plan or the cost of it or the percentage that it would, that the county could forego for not having an individual in-MERS or participating in, and then didn't know exact numbers for benefits and, long-term disability, life insurance, those types of things. So he was just rough estimating a number that it's around $12,000, $11,790 that the county would save not paying out these initial benefits. But again, it says, check with legal, check with your finance director to get the exact numbers, which obviously we know we're in a finance director interim right now. I did pass this off to Maynard. He said he's going to try to have us the concrete numbers from those last two bulleted items by Wednesday, so that we can at least discuss it. I'm not saying Wednesday and Thursday we're saying yes and we're finalizing it and we're done. This is just our steps to keep moving, because we've been talking about this, and I have been waiting on kind of speaking with Mark Notley. But what he did was he's basically taking the rate of the employee right now currently at part-time, what we pay him. And he's saying that if you take the wage study and to put the max scale out there, add up roughly the $11,000 or $12,000 that the county saves, add those two numbers together, you're getting to that $68,000 number, which factors into be about right in the same range as if you took the $32 an hour salary and took it from 30 hours to full-time, or 24 hours, whatever it's at, and went to full-time. So he's just saying it's similarly in that his hourly rate right now, full-time, would be that number, and that would kind of be what the county was saving for not having it in all the other. But this is just something to look at for now. Like I said, the numbers aren't concrete, but we needed to discuss it.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
So that 68,000, I think, is a lot more in line with where I would feel comfortable with this, keeping in line with the wage study. My only question is that if we allow this sort of cafeteria plan where he's gonna opt out of different things and get paid for them instead, are we gonna allow anybody else to have a similar kind of cafeteria plan and take those kind of buyouts too? I mean, I think that's gonna set precedent in the county for, you can either take these benefits or you can take them as salary. I'm not sure why we would let one person do that and not other people.
Well,
What's
we
the
don't even know. We
difference?
don't even know that he can opt out of the retirement plan.
Yeah.
Speaking to our accountants, they said they don't know that people, active employees of the county, can opt out of retirement. So that might not even be an option.
Okay.
So, we'll see. And
Yeah.
but I mean, there's a number of ways to look at it. There's a way to look at it as if it's a contractual employee and not a county, per se. I mean, it can become a contractual obligation, which would be different and outside of that, but.
It is certainly something that, and this is, we got this today, and it certainly is good to read. I mean, the gentleman handles all sorts of situations, and he's trying to put something together that can handle our situation, which is good. So I just assume we move it on to Wednesday, so we might have a little more figures, and so on and so forth. So, and we can talk about this more today if you so like. Yeah, Dan?
I would just, want to put this in, many of you know I spent 2 weeks, I think, 2.5 weeks, I don't remember, with Trent, every day, sundown. And once the tornado happened, saw firsthand his experience, his skill, his network of bringing in, we had 4 or 5 emergency managers from around the state. We would not have had that. We would not have had a lot of resources if we, depending on who else we could have had as an emergency manager, but, don't really know. But Trent was able to bring all those extra resources in. For better or worse, we worked our way out of getting reimbursed for some of the money, although some appropriations are made and that may be coming, but we almost did too good of a job, which in government is not necessarily a bad thing. And the other day at our health board meeting, Director Johnson was talking about, maybe it was one of his employees, I don't remember, some of the stuff that we did, some of the stuff that Trent enacted, the protocols or the standard operating procedures, whatever you want to call them, that we went through, are now being used as best practices for other training for situations, especially dealing with volunteer recruitment and volunteer training and that kind of stuff. It's being used in our region and across the state for other emergency planning. So, I mean, you guys kind of know where I am. Like I said, I spent 2 weeks with them and couldn't pay that individual enough, obviously, for what happened, what we went through. And I think if you talk to any of the business owners or any of the homeowners or any of the other law enforcement or first responders, fire, EMS, whoever else that helped out with the tornado would probably echo the same thing.
same thing that I'd second. I know there's been letters circulated in the past of his support from all the, I don't know necessarily the police chiefs, but I know I've seen a letter from all the fire chiefs in our county that have supported him going to full-time. So that's where I am, and I'll leave it at that.
And I don't have a problem with the full-time, it's just how much is that gonna cost is the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
we did have this conversation last month about the finance director, and this board sat here and said, we will pay more for the right person. We will go outside the wage study for a finance director. This is no different. And I, for one, would not want to see Trent Atkins leave this county.
Well, I think that in the case of the finance director, we're in a critical spot, and so we're willing to pay more right now.
I think we're in a critical spot countywide.
You know, and actually, we did have quite an emergency, and all the activities of the individuals involved, and the leader, and the departments, the fire departments, and police departments, they all reacted quite well. I mean, so we have a track record, don't we? I mean, you have to lend that credibility too. So I worked out pretty good. Okay, does anybody have any other questions at this time? If not, all those in favor saying aye? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moves on to Wednesday. Okay, other agenda items. I'd just like to quickly touch upon, I've been attending Shiawassee Road Commission meetings. 7:30 in the morning meetings. Anyway, they got their annual report back. It came back with an A+ from the auditors. They're gaining more money because of the tax laws that were enacted a few years ago for road money, cents per gallon, and those kind of things. There's a lot of activity in the county. I won't get into today how much money for side roads and all the participation of townships, so on and so forth. And but they've been putting extra money into their legacy costs, and right now they're at 79% of their legacy costs, which is excellent. Maybe somebody read the paper the last couple of days, but there seems that several of our county villages have received most likely grants for improving their roads. One of them is the village in Morris, and they're tickled to death. They hope it all comes to fruition, which it may, so that's a good thing. But if you get a chance, you might want to attend one of the road commission meetings. They last about 7:30 to 9 o'clock. There's a lot going on. There's all sorts of reports, and they meet twice a month, the second and fourth Tuesday. So tomorrow morning at 7:30, if you're available, you might want to go road commission building and attend. They get a few people once in a while on that. So, but their audit was A+. There was no recommendations for changing anything. And I'd like to give a lot of credit to their finance director, Jennifer Roser. She did an excellent job in coordinating all activity with the auditors and so on and so forth. Any questions on that? But I do have it, and I will give it to Casey. So I have that. Okay. Quickly. Oh, this is not so quickly. I'll try to. I've written it down. This is a report on the Mystic Web. On May 17th, we met at the old administration building of the old New Ulster School District. We spent the morning and most of the afternoon negotiating on the Mystic Web. And when we finally arrived at a conclusion, I would certainly like to thank, first of all, our drain commissioner did an excellent job. He put together a little history. It's easy to read. Explain why we arrived at our conclusion of what we thought should happen, which happened, and so on and so forth. And I'd also like to thank, Tony had a drain lawyer. His name was Stefan Bogdy, and he did an excellent job. He's been advising us for quite some time, like 2009, 2010 and on. I'd like to thank Gregory Alexander. He stepped in Tony's shoes because Tony owned property in the Mystic Way Drain District. He's a Sanilac County Drain Commissioner. I'd also like to thank Jeff Wright. He's the Genesee County Drain Commissioner. He did an excellent job, was very knowledgeable. After we had lots of discussions, originally, I'm going to condense it right here. This was what they used to call, this was what you call, initially when the drain was dredged, it's called a broad drainage district. You drain the water and then you maintain it with regular maintenance. When you have a raw drainage district and then you have flood control, the flood control is not considered part of the raw drainage terminology. It is called who benefits from flood protection. It was determined that basically Saginaw County with this project would gain most of the advantage for flood control. There'd be bigger dikes, but there would be no increased capacity for storage of water in the springtime to hold back more water to let it out as slow, but at a slower rate, so there wouldn't be any flooding. So there's no capacity increase. That was a big terminology. Also, back in the day, a long time ago, I mean, before the sun came up, Shiawassee County was at 42.8% of the maintenance. 43%. Yeah, that's right. I got that wrong. 43%. What that meant was we paid 43% of everything. Now, when the discussion started, Saginaw County, with Albee Township, which is in Saginaw County, they wanted to maintain that breakdown. The 43%, Shiawassee County 43%, Genesee County 14%, or whatever that would end up being. There was lots of discussions at Genesee being 17%, Shiawassee at 40%, Saginaw at 43%, but there was no confusion. As we moved on through the day, I listened to it all. There was stalemates, and finally, I indicated to them, I didn't ask any questions, nor did I participate for about the first 4.5 hours. And then finally, when it came down, there looked like a stalemate. I raised my hand and I asked them, as a taxpayer, our taxpayers in Shiawassee County have had this ongoing since 9/10 until present day. That is way too long. We have $800,000 in bills that have been incurred on this project without turning a shovel. It would be my conjunction if we cannot arrive at a conclusion today and an agreement that we can sign. I will go back and recommend, as the finance chair of the Shiawassee Board of Commissioners, that we would pull ourselves out of this. We would pay the 40% that we owe, the $800,000, and we would go home. Then there was lots of movement. Everybody broke off, came back. And as we arrived at a conclusion that everybody could live with, Genesee County would go from 17% to 18%. Shiawassee County would go from 43% to 36%. And now Saginaw County would be 46%. What does that mean? That means that initially, we had bills for attorney, I realize that. But initially, we will be saving approximately $95,000 per percent for our taxpayers. It's not quite 95,000, but it could be. In the future, we will save on interest payments to those individuals in Mystic Creek and Shiawassee County. They will save on payments per year for 20 years. I believe it's 20 years. 20 years. Also, the scope of the project. The scope of the project had increased to almost 8 to 9 million. We believe now, and Tony's right at it there, the scope of the project should be between 5 and 6 million. Anticipation of the work that has to be done. Also, in the future, maintenance work will be based maintenance cost will now be based upon that new rate of 36% instead of 43%. So ongoing in the future, our part of the maintenance will be substantially less, and Saginaw County will be substantially more. Keep in mind, this district drains 52,000 acres in Shiawassee County, 49,000 acres in Genesee County, and 15,000 acres in Saginaw County. But I will put a caveat on Saginaw County. There are several drains just in Saginaw County in that rich farmland that drain into that Mystic Way in Saginaw County. They've been removed from this initial cost estimates. So, the property that this Mystic Way drains is probably, if not the first, but the second most richest land in the world. Therefore, it has to be productive. And therefore, we all are in this together. And after we had this completed, everyone signed on the agreement. And now we're in the process, and I'll kind of let Tony take it from here. We're in the process of bidding or discussing more. But Tony, what happened? Did I touch all the topics?
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
The acreage is 52,000 acres Shiawassee, 42,000 in Saginaw, and about 21,000 in Genesee.
Oh, I had those backwards. I'm sorry.
But right now, the bids have gone out. They had a pre-bid meeting. We had I think 41 contractors at the pre-bid meeting. I don't know how many are going to turn bids in, but the bids are due on the 25th of this month. And we'll be having a meeting on the 25th at Alden Township and see what the bids come in at.
Yeah,
and we did get stuck with, we don't get no benefit from these flat gates, but we got stuck with repairing 3 of them, the district. And that could be right around $750,000 to $800,000 just about. So, we didn't vote for it. That was part of that settlement that Jeff Wright made with Saginaw County on. So we are going to get stuck with repairing 3 of them.
Where were we with the mowing of the
Lakes?
Yeah.
Well, we've got to mow the dams areas, all the dams, the 3 dam areas we got. There's about 8 or 9 acres with each one. And we got to mow all of that once a year. And then we got to mow the top of the dikes once a year. Yep, top of the dikes.
Didn't you say, okay, and what's the cost of that?
I think our mowing is around, by the time we mow everything, I think it's around $15,000 to $18,000 a year. Because when they mow the banks of them dams and earthen dams, they can only mow down, then they gotta go to the end and come back up, so it takes quite a bit of time. Genesee County mows the dams, and then Saginaw County mows all the flat area around the dams and the top of the dam.
And then we're billed a percentage?
Yeah, and we pay our percentage, which will be, well, it was 43.8, now we're gonna pay 36, so we'll pay our percentage of that, you know.
So does anyone have the ability to challenge this? Is Mr. Turnwald gonna attempt to challenge this?
Nope, he can't do it now, unless he wants to go and take it back to court again. We gotta remember that they're the ones that held us up in court for the last 3 years. Now they're cramming this, moving this, they want this done. They wanna have our day of review July 9th, so that we can get on assessment rolls, so we don't pay no more capital interest, okay? Which, that's fine, but we had our district outline redone, and all our other districts, we did the 197, used the LiDAR, where our Mystic A district wasn't done, so we're trying to get all of that corrected, because that's all gotta be in that final order. If it ain't corrected, then there could be people that should be in it, that won't be in it, and won't have to ever pay on it. So we're trying to get that corrected. There's a bunch of our parcel numbers are wrong. Jim is getting them straightened out, so we've got to have our, I think next week, we've got to mail out, I think, 3,100 notices. So by next week, we've got to have this done.
There's still more ongoing, but hopefully we've gotten into the phase of doing it.
Yeah, so there should be no more challenges on this, okay?
I had black hair when it started looking. Okay, also another thing, last week, early week, we talked, Tim Hill and I talked, lawn mowing in our parks. We have a lot of reservations. The parks are getting used a lot. And we have grass growing, and it's raining, and so, Tim, use your hours. A lot of times they couldn't work, so use your hours to get the lawn mowing done so they can be in good shape. And he's even bringing them in on Saturday, our temps, our temporary employees from the summer, the young guys, and they're cutting grass if they can on Saturday if it doesn't rain. Well, yesterday, you saw what happened, and golf courses are all closed in the area, so that tells you about grass. So anyway, but we need to have those, and so I talked to Cindy and Brandon, and we said, "Don't get the grass cut." And a lot of times, our regular employees, they do work overtime some. A lot of them really don't want to work overtime on Saturday or Sunday, but the temps we can use, we certainly don't get up over 40 hours a week. So and we'll use a lot more time right now, but then that'll slack off as the summer goes on. But our temps have been doing a really good job. We've had a couple public, and Rick Crawford came over and helped cut Chi-Town and everything, so everybody realizes that the grass has been growing really quick this year. So that's part of that. Also, new maintenance building. We've had quite a discussion down at the maintenance building, drain commissioner building, about we were going to have what we called a tailings type area. That's your tailings were blacktop tailings, crushed up, so to speak, with a big base. The base is there, and now we've had quite a discussion as to shouldn't it be blacktop or concrete, and so on and so forth. The building is in line to where our budget is, so if we do something else, it would be extra, most likely. I met with people down there today, and we went over it. The price for blacktop is approximately $65,000 more, and the price for concrete is approximately $75,000 to $80,000 more.
More than the tailings.
Yes, yeah. Give or take.
Does that affect any of the drain? I mean, I know we have retention ponds and stuff.
Yes.
Does this, whether we go from the tailings, which obviously is permeable, versus cement, pavement, we're still okay with retention ponds and runoff?
Well, a lot of discussion about tailings. They do develop potholes. You're gonna have to maintain the parking lot, the parking area around that building, which is substantial. Every year, you're gonna have to put in some. A lot of times, if you have tailings, I've used small limestone that works good, packs back down, or more tailings. The water, the retention pond, I think the water will go off there well enough so it doesn't cause a problem. It is a lot more dirt involved, but with blacktop and concrete, blacktop, both of them, the area stays nicer, but the concrete lasts a whole bunch longer. So probably the area around the building would not have to be actually maintained or looked at for 30, 40 years. Also, the substructure down there is sandy gravel loam, and it was really pretty good stuff, so there's quite a base there. So if you did put concrete or blacktop in, it would have a real good chance of being there a long
And then Tim, how about plowing, snow plowing? What's cement, pavement, tailings, what would be your best option? What's that?
Cement or asphalt.
Okay.
And you put tailings down, you're gonna be plowing into the, grass and everywhere else, and
when you go,
not gonna be pleasant.
Yeah.
And we are putting a detention pond in the back of that building. And we've got enough room there, and Alan Boyer's figuring it out for me, how big one we'll need. It won't have to be very deep, because, like you said, it's all gravel. When you get through that sand, you got 5 foot of gravel. And there's 3 inches of rain last night, and there's hardly any water set.
it's pretty dry now.
So we're gonna run them ditches on each side of the buildings back there, but then we'll run tile into the thing, so.
I suggest that we keep it gravel for a year at least, and make sure everything's settled around there. Because, pack it down. That's my educated guess, that don't rush into asphalt and cement it right away. That's just my,
Yeah.
because everything's gonna move and settle and change a little bit, so.
I mean, we could, if we don't do anything more this year.
We could wait with our budget next year, maybe.
Yeah.
We've already brought $1,555,000 out of our delinquent tax fund, so I don't know how many more million you want to take out of there, so. I
Okay.
think maybe we ought to just,
What's,
that's my opinion. I'm not on this board, so.
what's the completion date here? I mean, what are we looking at for?
Well, they're
The whole
painting
project.
and putting ceilings in and end of June.
Do we have any kind of a opening date yet or anything? No?
I haven't heard yet.
Okay.
I mean, it's gonna be shortly,
Okay.
they're close.
We ain't gonna be able to move until after July 9th, because when we send the notices out, they're gonna be coming to our old office for that day review. So it'll be after July 9th before the drain office can even think about it. So we, yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to move that at that?
No way.
But anyway, this was a good discussion point. Maybe Gary has a good point. Maybe we should look at it for next year in the budget. I do know settling occurs, even though it's been packed up there really well around that building. I'll tell you, they have pretty good machinery. But I just wanted to bring that up because if we do put it in next year's budget possibly, I just wanted to know what the cost could be
I
involved.
like that idea. The only thing I like what Gary mentioned. The only thing I'm afraid of is what's the increased cost going to be next
Yeah,
year?
because the thing about it is, there is gonna be increased costs, and like, out of the 65,000, there'll be $4,500 roughly that would not be that billings, that would come off that he would give us credit for. I said I would put in some a little bit myself, because if they put all that in there, then whoever you hire to put the cement in or the asphalt is gonna have to push all that back out of there. It's all gonna come back out. Right now, they're gonna still have to take some out right now, but at least it would be part of,
Parents deal.
deal right now.
If they have to come in next, let's say they came in next year, they did go over that and they had to grade off the slope. I like the word slope and reposition 4 inches, it'd be $5,000 to $6,000 for prep work.
So, I don't know, I like what Commissioner Holzhausen said though, have the ground settle. The last thing we want to do is slap some pavement cement on there and have the ground shift and heave and everything through the winter and all of a sudden we have problems in the spring.
Yes.
So I like that idea.
Okay, so that would be part of our discussions for next year?
Is that-
Okay.
Wait, John, and one other thing, they do got, consumers has got gas, or got electrical for the building. It's supposed to be tomorrow, I think they're putting gas in, and Daystar has got the conduit run to the building too.
They're working at Consumers was there on Sunday.
Yeah, I know, I see them there,
They're working.
It's at the poles right in the middle of the ditch.
But if you get a chance, go out and take a look.
Yeah.
There's workers there all the time. When I pulled up today, there was probably 10 trucks doing electrical and all sorts of stuff. It's coming along. I think we built a really good building for the activities of the drain commissioner, maintenance directors, and also all those kind of things. Okay, any other discussion on that at this time? If not, I'll move on. Finance director, Mike, I know you've been working on that diligently almost every day. Yes. Okay.
We advertised, we had it on the website, we had it at Michigan Association of Counties, the Michigan Society of Association Employees. We went through Indeed.com and also My Talent. I put it on there too, which is the Michigan, State of Michigan's website. We have 36 total applications. 23 of them came through Indeed, which for the most part, you really got to sort through them. No matter what instructions you give them, they tend to send a 2-page stock resume that they can send by pushing a button. And so you've got people that are putting in that even if minimally qualified, and some not even that, but they can tell unemployment that they applied for a job.
Yeah.
Yes. But there are some that do, and what I usually do there If that's what they did, I mean, they're kind of starting off with a check mark because they were told what to do. But nevertheless, if they look promising, you hate to overlook them, and we'll send a request for a full resume. And myself and Eric Smith looked through them. There was one of the Indeed ones that we did ask for more, if he would send a resume. So far, I haven't heard back, which is not uncommon. Of the 13 that came through the website, we have selected, so far, we have 6 that look pretty good. Now, some of them will find jobs before we hire. You don't know how long they've already been doing, but ideally, if we interview those 6, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm optimistic about it.
So probably the sooner, the better, that we get the interviews started.
The interviews are going to be, we're going to get them scheduled for next week, 17th, 18th, 19th, if necessary. If there's a couple more that we decide to take a look at or that come in, we could also use the 20th. But ideally, 17th, 18th, and 19th is what we're looking at. Like I said, possibly the 20th. And trying to think if there's anything else.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think we should wait any longer.
No, we're not looking to wait, but at the same time, you gotta get it in, you gotta get.
Well, certainly 6 people to interview next week would be a great start.
Well, hopefully we'll have somebody out there. Ideally, a couple choices. There's also, you never know, a couple more might come in. One of the 6 people we're looking at.
Right, well, that's why I think we should get started though, so that we can interview as many applicants as we, as we need to select the right person.
Well, if they got the qualification, sure.
Yeah, we don't wanna end up back where we've been again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that was on my last discussion item at this time. Anybody else have anything?
I would just add, and I know that I voted no last month on bill pays, and I want to just sort of explain that, is I've been on this board for 6 months now, and I have not seen a finance packet at any meeting. No budget versus actual, no cash flow, and I know we haven't had the finance person in place, but it's really hard for me to sit and make decisions when I don't know where we are budget versus actual wise, what comes in a month, what goes out. Just voting to pay bills when there's really no information on that IER report is something I'm not comfortable with anymore. And I get it, when we have a finance person in place, that's gonna change, but I am concerned about that, and also concerned about the fact that Maynard and Costeras have told us that no one at the county level has been balancing the bank statements for 2 years now. And I think this position is so critical, and I just can't say enough that this is just not good fiscal management, and something has to change really quickly.
I don't think not paying our county employees or our utilities would be the way to go.
Well, I don't think so either, but there's no information on there that even says that we're paying employees and utilities. It's just
If you
numbers.
read through the bills, it says what those bills are, so, I mean.
All
I'm
I
voting
see
to
is the
continue.
IER.
You can view the budget anytime. But the budget's online.
I can view the budget, but I don't know then what we've spent out of the budget without going and doing all the calculations.
Well, we can do that. BSNA is a lot easier to do that with than our previous one. And when they said they haven't done bank reconciliations for 2 years, that was 2 years prior to last year. We started doing bank reconciliations.
They told us 16 and 17, or 17 and 18, that they had done 17 and 18 to prepare for the 2 audits.
Yes, that's halfway through last year. Yeah.
17 and 18.
Yeah, halfway through last
And
year.
they were trying to get 18 finished in order to be prepared to submit an audit on time for June 30th this year.
We need to submit by 30.
Right,
We have
but
to
they were
submit
still
the
catching
F-65.
up. When we had that conversation with them, they said they were still finishing the 2018 bank statements so that they could be prepared to submit the audit on time this year.
That was not my understanding.
Yeah, they've done reconciliations since then.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while.
Maynard Costerson has, the county hasn't.
Well, Maynard Costerson right now is our interim finance director. They are the county.
Right, But what I'm saying is, none of the county, so when we had a finance director, she wasn't doing it. They said she didn't know how to do it.
Well, that's not true. She was doing something, but they had, that's not the case anyway. Even last year.
Statutory law
Yeah.
requires the treasurer.
The treasurer's supposed to do them. We had to do them. I don't wanna get into all the details of that, but we had to do them. And they were doing them. Maynard Costerison was our finance director last year. We didn't have a finance director here until mid-December
Right.
of 2018.
Right.
So that wasn't the whole thing.
Yeah.
They were doing them all.
We haven't really had one since Patty. I mean,
Well,
and even that wasn't.
Even then.
she wasn't doing a lot.
But I mean, yeah, so I mean, we're taking on a lot of functions that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I mean.
How much are we paying Maynard Costerison?
Probably
A lot
close
of
to
money.
$200,000 or more that we're paying them. I mean, that's, you know, the cost of doing businesses. Do we just sit here and keep voting on stuff and
No.
no one do it? I mean,
know.
somebody's gotta pick up that tab because we don't have anyone qualified in this county to do it. No one sitting up here can do it. No one in any of the offices can do
Nobody
it. So I mean,
can, nobody across the street.
Right.
so I mean.
So it's being done.
It is being done, and to sit here and say we're not doing it, I
It's
mean,
absolutely
But
being
we
done.
haven't seen it, I haven't seen it. in
we're
reports.
working on it tirelessly.
It's my job.
I
to see
think
reports.
you should reach out to Maynard. You should sit in that office and sit there and watch what they do and see what they do and have them explain to you what they're doing.
So
You
I
have
don't get reports from them.
a much broader picture on what is actually going on. I mean, sure, they might not have, the time to print the report off for you every day, but, I mean,
Once
they're
a month.
making sure we're not missing stuff, and they are making sure, they're not sitting in the treasurer's office and making sure is there cash in the account to put this check through. They're actually making sure we have the money and we can afford what we're doing. They are our fail-safe right now. So, I mean, they are doing it. I mean, I understand
Oh, I'm
we're not
sure they
seeing it.
are. I'm
I
not
understand
saying
we're not
we
seeing it.
want
We should be seeing it, yes, and that's what we want to get to. But we are working on it. If we're not gonna vote to pay the bills, if I was gonna vote no on the bills, I would vote no on every single agenda item I see until I decide.
Well, and I get that too, and I'm
to start
wrestling with
voting
that,
yes
what is
on
the
it.
thing that we do, because we don't know. We don't have the information.
Because, I mean, it's kind of counterproductive to be voting for expenditures, but not voting to pay those expenditures that you just approved. So,
And there's just not a lot of information on that report, so.
I'm certainly confident in the job that Maynard is
Well,
doing.
and I'm not-
Absolutely confident. I have
I'm
no
confident in the
qualms.
job they're doing too, but not seeing any reports, and it's my job to look at a monthly report and vote yes or no on it, and I haven't been able to do that.
and I think.
That's what we're elected to do.
We'll get there. I mean.
That's our elected responsibility.
We'll get there. I don't know if Mike was quite up to speed on that, but the report issue, maybe even Caroline, for a little bit, she did it. To understand the idea of putting that with all the old softwares we had to get them to talk together and produce these reports was not an easy task. If they can get through it with telling us, we got this here, or showing it to us, I mean, we've had those, but I mean, just to print out the quarterlies that we got was like, it was horrible. I don't know if you guys had to really work on that
But with
much,
BSNA in place, I'm assuming
That's
that's
what-
gonna
yes.
change really.
Yes,
quickly.
that should be monthly. You should see a month.
Even now, we can get reports of where we're at on these. We know some of the accounts that have gone higher, and we know we got to change them. One of them is, in fact, I talked to Public Defender. They don't have all their staff yet, but I talked to him. He's going to take over. The idea is that they take over all of the, including the outsourcing to other attorneys when they have conflicts and stuff. So there's a bunch of them that are still on the court's budget. Well, he's gonna pick those up, all of them right now, and he'll make those out too. The idea under the standards is to get the courts out of the business of assigning. Courts are a huge thing. The trial courts of Michigan are the #1 unfunded liability to Michigan counties.
Some of us commissioners took quite a bit of heat for passing that BSNA to come through. We had to sit up here and hear what idiots we were, and how certain people deserve raises, and how could we spend our money that way. But it just goes to show you when you do your homework, and you're looking forward for this county, you can still do good. And I, for one, am proud of the way we've managed our money. Since I've been on the board the last 2 years, we've had surpluses come through. We had, $450,000 surplus in our revolving tax fund. And then the only reason we didn't last year was because of the MERS issue, which 20 years ago someone made a mistake and we had to deal with it. So I'm proud of what we've done, and I do take a little bit of offense with sounds like we haven't done our due diligence.
Well, I feel like that's what we've been working on for, I mean,
We're
Commissioner
right
Baum has
above.
been on here working at
Coming
this
up
for
here,
years and
sitting
years
there.
and years,
Yes.
and we finally got to it, I mean.
Well, actually, when Jeremy was back here, Jeremy and it's 14 or 15, we actually balanced the budget with general revenue, and that hadn't been done for 45 years. They'd always taken lots of money out of the tax delinquent fund, and quite frankly, we had to because our tax revenues, we got whacked horribly in the recession, and we're really not really back, but we're increasing every year. So there was a lot of cuts and a lot of things that took place. When I was here in 84, 92, we had 350 employees. Today, what are we at? 200? I mean, think about it. I mean, I've seen a county just shrink to almost half its size for employment-wise. Now, some of that, of course, comes through technology and things we farm out maybe or whatever. But overall, we are a lot smaller than we ever were in the past. So that's here nor there. We're looking at today and tomorrow and next year's budget and so on and so forth. So, and the MERS thing, we're hoping that won't be quite as financially tough on us this year as we anticipated. We're working on that too. So,
We're tackling it, certainly.
yeah. So, any other discussion? Last call for the public. Anyone like to speak? Matt, you're certainly welcome.
I'll keep it brief since I was gone so long, but it's more and more prevalent that you're making it more difficult for our county clerk to operate. And she made comment that she had 3 people back in 2016 in her office besides her, and now only has 2, and she's asking for a part-time person. How does the Robert's Rule of Order go if you get 1 vote for yay and 1 vote for nay to slide the motion to the side?
There was 2 names on that.
Oh, there's 2 nays.
Just 2.
I guess I didn't hear the other.
Either way we fail. If it's a tie, it fails.
I still recommend that you reconsider Wednesday applying that same motion to the agenda for consideration.
Okay.
I mean, she's made countless efforts to make the office more compatible for the public, and you're turning her down for a part-time position. Another issue, I worked with the Department of Commerce with the Census Bureau a couple of times working in metropolitan areas. When we talk about the homeless, we're talking about anybody that's homeless. I gave a confirmation to Mike Reeves involving the decision made by the residents of Shiawassee County to fund a special Veterans Trust Fund in 2008, and included not just veterans, but homeless veterans, and it's highlighted on the sheet that I gave it to them. Homeless veterans have a residence. I'm sure this gentleman here can confirm that. When you're doing census, you gotta write down everybody, whether they're living on a park bench or in a concrete wall or whatever. They're still homeless and they're residents, and they can vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Brian?
Yeah, Brian True. I want to second also on the part-time clerk. It's pretty clear she's kind of gotten over a hurdle the past couple of years. You know, had a lot of obstacles put in front of her as she got that office put back together again. And it's a part-time person. I would hope that she has some ability to moderate that person depending on what her needs are at the time. But going into what is expected to be a pretty active election year, it seems like the people who do the boots on the ground, here we're worrying about finance manager, which is important, and the emergency manager, we're putting money into an emergency manager. The clerk's office are the boots on the ground. They're in there every day. They're the ones that make it happen over there. And I would hope, I agree with him, I would hope you'd reconsider that. It really wasn't a lot of money compared to some of the other things you approved tonight. and it seems like it would be a reasonable thing to do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else at this time? If not,
John,
yeah, Tony.
just one comment quick. I know Caroline got a email from a gentleman. There's a lot of issues we go out and visit that are not related to county drains. And we do go see these people. They don't like what we tell them, and so they try to go down the chain, the line. But the gentleman that emailed her, we've been out there 3 times. It's an issue between him and his neighbor. I mean, there ain't nothing we can do, and he said that the middle neighbor, there's a neighbor between him and the other neighbor who's got the pond. When we're out there to visit the lady who's got the pond, the next neighbor comes, he said that pond's been there for 30 years. He said, we've got 4 inches of rain. He said, I don't know what he expects, and there's an 18-inch tile that comes under Beard Road, dumps right in his yard. Well, where's that water gonna go? The county drains a 1/4 mile down the road. You know, so if there was a problem with the county drain, we would address it, but we're getting a lot of problems like today. We probably had 30 calls about the road ditches. Well, that's the road commission, you know, so. But I'm just saying, you know, most of them issues, if they call in, we do go out and look. You know, so if you got any questions, don't be afraid to call us. So, thanks.
Any other public comment? If not, we adjourn. Thank you, everyone. I will